match. prieR ended up losing last week to Andy, losing by 22 minutes as we're underway. Won the first 4 matches. We'll talk about that as we go through the escape. What do you think the uncle's going to have?
I'm going to go ahead and hope for my usual hope of Canis Samaria, which is my favorite weapon for escape.
I'm going to go with the bow this time. And we get a map check. It turns out Red Pendant is down in the desert. The other 2 are crystals. I did not see any flashing red crystals, so I don't think any of them are part of the 5-6 combo.
Hera was actually a crystal 6.
Ah, that's good. So as we head into the uncle, we end up getting the Cane of Samaria.
This is my favorite weapon because it lets you have enough free space to do a little bit of bomb farming, but also you got to keep a little bit of track if you don't want to risk running out of magic.
Oh, Kova gets the bombs. prieR did not. We get a bottle. This is going to help with the Kakariko village routing as we make our way over towards the escape. So as these guys go through these first standard rooms of escape, prieR ended up winning week 1 against Teflo, 156.07, 126.31 against Jay Misher, winning that race by 25 minutes week 3. Ended up winning by almost 8 minutes to SAGDG. In week 4, beat Cross Product with a 155.01, winning that race by 6, and then lost last week, putting up a 142. But when Andy put up a 120, well, that kind of set the tail for that race in week 5. Kova coming up in just a moment as we come up to the first required room. And this is probably one of the strongest things about the Cane of Samaria, although we don't have to worry about the Cane of Samaria anymore. There's the hammer.
That's a lovely find anytime. Hammer is one of the best weapons in this game, so finding it early, always a pleasure.
And we see prieR immediately switching on over to that hammer. Both runners with bombs right now. So Kova ended up winning week 1 with a 149.10 over Fat Homie. And week 2 beat Kid Aseth by 11 minutes with 133.03. Lost in week 3 by only 3.5 minutes to Zapod Beeble Brox 4, who obviously did a pretty good job in the Key Sanity tournament. Also did a pretty good run in the Open tournament in the secondary bracket. Week 4 beat Jedab by almost 4 minutes, and then beat Class Hayabusa last week, 201.56. So Kova's time's getting a little bit longer, but you never know what's going to happen in Randomizer.
You've got to figure a good chunk of those time variances are based on the different seeds that you run into.
prieR swung and missed, but thankfully was able to get his 2 hammer hits there. We find the book, so Zelda doing some light reading while she was waiting to be saved.
And that book makes me think Desert's going to be important early, and with a pendant that's unfortunate for the runners, but the question is how long do you hold off trying to find boots before you head that way?
Or a fire source, or the gloves, which are both also going to be required to beat the dungeon. Boots may be required, obviously.
Very true. With you naming off the guys these 2 have faced off against in the tournament, reaching 4-1 with that kind of schedule is no easy task for either of them.
Yeah, and here's the thing. One of these 2 runners is going to be 4-2 next week, and it's going to be a nightmare for one of the people trying to make brackets. So, obviously, for those who are just tuning into this match, 5 wins guarantees you a spot in the 128-person bracket. 4 wins, it may get you based on your tiebreakers, but you've got to be facing off against some good competition in order to do that. prieR has that wiggle room, having faced Andy, and so did Kova facing Zapod. As Kova tried to do a little bit of pumping by the looks of things and ended up hugging the wall, so ended up losing some time right there.
It's always the worst feeling when you're trying to do those little time saves and just end up, oops, wasted a bit of time instead. Go ahead and say, for those who aren't familiar, in standard mode here, the escape sequence, you get a free light cone as a lamp, but once you leave escape, then all the other dark rooms outside these sewers are going to be actual dark rooms until you find the lamp.
We find the cape. Oh boy.
You never want to see the cape right away. Never, ever. caves serves pretty much three purposes. One is for Bumper Cave, one is for Spike Cave, and the third is for everyone's least favorite cutscene boss, Aghanim.
And other than that, it just works as a protection item, but you're not thinking protection at that point. And we got the final three of Escape. I don't know if we've seen the map yet, but let's go ahead and find out what we have as the back three this time around. Well, we get some bombs. Well, there's the map, so we know Sanctuary is going to have something, and there's a glove.
Seeing that glove back there makes me real glad that both of these two got bombs. If you have to go back into Escape for your first glove because you didn't get a bomb drop, it is just painful.
Well, what we're going to probably likely see now is the case of the Titansmith being deep somewhere. Who knows where that will end up? These things could very well troll our runners for quite the long time. But sub-6 escape for prieR, and Kova's going to be coming in about 6:06, so decent escape times for both runners. Well, if he didn't get hit by that rat, it would have been 6:06.
Yep, and with finding the hammer and the glove both in Escape, they're now just sitting a moon pearl away from Dark World access, which is very early if they find it soon.
Yeah, because we're going to be coming along the 13+ items of the Kakariko village. Let's go ahead and see what we have of the lumberjack tree today, and also see what the tier 3 tree pull is. Just going to be some arrows.
And I'm always somewhat surprised with how differing the strategies are to see both runners in a race both go check lumberjack these days. You usually end up seeing one of the two do it and one of the two not.
And we find out that it's just a piece of heart.
Now heading into the Lost Woods, the mushroom spot is a big 20, which prieR is just going to walk away from.
Yep, now these runners have an opportunity to check the pedestal, but we're probably not going to see it for both of these runners.
Yeah, it can be good knowledge to get right out of the gate, but when that mushroom item isn't worth walking over there for, sometimes it's hard to convince yourself to go over that way.
Although Kova doing this first as opposed to checking where the mushroom spot would be makes me wonder, but again, it's way too early in the run to be worrying about what's going to be on the pedestal. A lot of things can come into play at this point as we head to Kakariko village. We're going to see what's going on here, and Kova does pick up the rupees because we're still searching for some money at this point, and we are going to get that pedestal check.
Yeah, it's definitely a time sink, but if it's something important, you know that right off the bat, that's real nice.
And we're going to find out that this things that go triple boom, so 3 bombs. Sorry, people, but at 8 minutes in, the pedestal dream, it's dead.
Yep, and meanwhile, over on the other side, prieR nabbed himself the first sword in Blind's hut, so that makes life a little bit easier. Hammer is objectively a better weapon than the first level sword because it does a lot more damage, but it is also harder to use in a pinch.
So Kova, prieR gets blasted in the face, but gets 2 hearts in this room, so it's not going to worry about his health at this point. Or he's going to just pick up 1, but you could pick up 2 if you wanted to.
There's that Moon Pearl. We have Dark World access at 9 minutes.
Wouldn't it be interesting if we found the Mire real soon? Apparently, the bottle merchant's been stealing some ideas from Zora because you spend 100 rupees, you get 1 back.
Still a better deal than Zora is half the time. He hasn't reached that level of proficiency yet. So, Sword and Moon Pearl, and a whole bunch of nothing so far in Kakariko.
Now, here's a question. Obviously, these runners are good runners. They are proficient runners. They know how to play this game. They have to make it to this level of the tournament. But with 3 hearts, do you even think about going into the Dark World at this point?
I think it's definitely a viable move to do as long as you know where you're going to the Dark World and what you're capable of risking.
Now we're going to go ahead and see if the boots are going to be required to get the item off the library. It turns out no.
You never know. They might really need 20 rupees at some point and be like, hey, I'm right here.
And we find a piece of heart. The race game, not enough to make prieR want to go that direction. So now we have some options. Again, with 3 hearts, it's very dangerous to decide to go to the Dark World just because of how nasty the enemies can hit. But if you want to head on over to Hype Cave, we could do that at this point. But we're going to stay standard route.
Yeah, I would say from the early risk management perspective, if you want to do something, dip into Hype Cave before finishing up these early checks, just to see if there's something that'll help you out during them in there. But also completely viable to just go straight into the Sphere 1 locations. The dam down here got a piece of heart to begin with. Gonna see what the flooded item is soon, as Kova is getting the disappointment of the race game.
And another piece of heart, and prieR says no to that, as Kova now heads back to Link's house and will likely do the same thing that we're seeing from prieR at this point.
Now coming up on Mini Moldorm Cave, which maybe will hold a little bit more value than Kakariko did.
I don't know. We got a pearl and a bunch of money from Kakariko Village. I don't know what value you're talking about.
True, there was the pearl and the money, but they only got like 2 progression items. That's not a whole lot.
But the value of money is much better.
Well, they're getting even more of that money over here in Mini Moldorm Cave.
Finally make it to 4 hearts, by the way. And that's going to do it for the Mini Moldorm Cave. That was pretty uneventful. It was valuable, but not in the way you want it to be. And we're going to go see the Hype Cave now.
Yep, a very quick check of 5 items. Don't think this is a bad play at all. It's going to get you a little bit more information on what's coming up.
Yeah, I mean, the only danger here is really just the matter of... Oh, we find the 20 rupees are going to be the price pack. Oh, green pendant turns out to be up at Turtle Rock. Blue pendant at Skull Woods. That fire rod could be late in this seed.
And Crystal 5 was down in Misery Mire.
Game, you are a jerk. And there's our first order upgrade.
Master Sword from Fighter Sword is a big improvement. That plastic shield, not so great.
The less we say about that single arrow, the better. Well, we're still getting some good value here, just not the value that you want to see in a Link to the Past randomizer seed.
Yep, you're always looking for those items that let you start skipping chests, going straight through dungeons, but some of these little side things are very useful in their own right as well.
Kova following suit with prieR and heading to Hype Cave.
Then in the meantime, prieR headed up to the pyramid, gonna see what the one item up here is. One of those locations that's just really annoying to check at any point during a run.
And turns out not to be anything important, so we're gonna leave here. And I would have to assume a catfish is going to be checked, and this is a extremely early catfish check, but if it turns out to be something valuable, hey, this is more power to prieR at this point.
Yep, you would hope to be able to route this in with like Zora and Waterfall of Wishing, but with no flippers and no Mire, there's really no hope of that at the moment, so just getting out of the way is not a bad idea.
Well, Kova now gets the map check, finds out the same information that we just saw from prieR's side. And prieR walking around the dash box to head on over to Catfish as Kova ends up laying down a bomb on the peg there. That doesn't knock him down. You'd expect an explosion to knock down pegs like that.
You would think so, or at least damage him enough that you could walk over him, one of the two.
Or at least walk around it. I mean, what's the power of that hammer? That hammer's got to be made of some very strong material. Kova's ain't even gonna do the catfish check.
Yep, and if he never goes up there, he's not going to be missing out on anything. So, that could be a nice little time save for him. You know, you were mentioning earlier with the pendant layout that the fire rod could be very late. I calmed a race last night where fire rod was unrequired and was found in Misery Mire, just kind of chilling in a chest that was a little bit out of the way. So, maybe we'll see in GT this time.
And the only way we're going to find out that fire rod would be... I mean, fire rod does work as a fire source, so you could have that possibility of that showing up in that regards. But if we get an early enough of a lamp, it strongly is the case where that fire rod could even turn out to be in Ganon's tower.
Yeah, and that gives you the kind of terror of, do I bet on not having a right side big key, or no, the bomb jump to get the right side without the fire rod? Or do you still open chests?
Absolutely. So prieR ends up heading into Skullwoods, and Kova's going to do the same thing here. Except for the catfish check, Kova's moves have been exactly... there's the lamp. Well then...
Ask and ye shall receive.
But this move does make sense. It is a pendant dungeon. You have the ability to pick up 2 items in here. We do know one of the items turns out to be the lamp. There's your fire source.
Yep, and Skullwoods isn't quite the Value Woods it was a couple versions ago anymore, but still a pretty quick check for those up to 2 items.
Kova, I was going to say, was their moves has mirrored prieR pretty much throughout the entire process. But we're seeing a few variances on the route here. Kova is going to go ahead and leave Skullwoods. Not going to check the big key chest. Understandable. Still an annoying one when you only have 4 hearts. If those Skibdos get in the way, it becomes rather bothersome. We'll go ahead and check Bumper Cave, see that it's not important this time around because it's not a piece of heart.
Yep, an interesting note on the subtle differences. prieR actually walked in, just checked that one chest on the right side that had the lamp, whereas Kova cleared out that whole front section. So if there's anything else in Skullwoods they need to go back for eventually, Kova's going to have a little bit of time already accounted for in there where you can skip straight to that big key chest.
Well, it's a case there where you've already got 1 item out of there. It's a pendant dungeon. You don't have much of a reason to go back in at this point.
See, you say that, but then the seed could say, hey, you know this bow? Just wait till you find it in the back of Skullwoods.
Isn't that the story of Randomizer? It doesn't matter what logic. I mean, people like to say the whole V29 thing, V28, V21, V17, V8. But it really just is a case where that's what Randomizer is about. You think you're all set with a dungeon until you have to come back.
Yep, I know in all the versions I've played, that has been the story of every one of them, so It's definitely a common thing in the entire game mode. Both of these guys heading into Thieves Town here. Probably going to go ahead and full clear. It's a crystal, they got hammer, they can get everything. But they're doing so with 4 hearts, which is always a little bit... Well, no, actually Kova's got 2 extra hearts somehow.
I'm just trying to figure out where Kova got those extra hearts at this point because of the route that's been almost the same exact, but
yeah, I just had that same moment of kind of like, wait a second, where did those come from? I guess a minorly interesting note that they've already got 2 shields. Just kind of rare to see those drop that early.
2 shields, 2 hearts. prieR's hearts he doesn't have at this point are from via the President's Outcast. Now it's got to be careful just a little bit because these enemies, they hit you for 2 hearts. So he's going to walk here just a little carefully to make sure he doesn't get hit by either of them.
Those crickets are definitely worse than the crabs. You're just usually slightly more prepared for them than you are for the crabs.
Yeah, you're not really usually walking through Thieves Town with 4 hearts at this point. So usually you have a little more health to deal with this, but not in this case. No key in their arsenal right now, which means that if Blind's cell does not contain a key, then it's locked inside that chest.
Yep, and soon we'll be coming up on the blind fight, which for runners of this caliber is pretty much a free fight because it's all scripted if you do it the same way.
And if worst comes to worst, they do have the magic cape. Obviously, you don't want to use the magic cape a whole lot, but oh, the compass is in the big chest. That's nice. You don't want to go through the entire magic arsenal to try to face off against Blind, but it's there in case you need it.
Yeah, that and Cane of Burna are both great safeties for Blind if you get off script at the beginning.
Alright, let's see how prieR does this fight. If prieR does this fight pretty well, it should be damageless. It should be pretty much scripted and without much problems here. This is where you know how to play this game. It definitely comes in handy, and so far damageless through the first 2 cycles, and the worst thing you got to worry about is getting bodied there, because it does take 2 hearts, and we did see prieR get bodied there, lost 2 hearts, but gets through the fight, and we pick up the hook shot.
That's a great find. That'll, with Death Mountain open, they can now do all of Light World Death Mountain all in one go if they go up there now.
So that now leads to some possibilities once prieR is done with this Village of Outcast. We're likely going to see him go down to the digging game and then to Stumpy, but what he does after that, you've got to think Death Mountain's going to be in the cards. This is a case where you go for the number of items, the chest density.
For sure, you could make an argument to try to delay it for Titan's Mid, but that would be a huge risk to not go right up there at this point.
Well, with, let's see, that is 7 plus Spiral Cave, plus the Ether Tablet, plus the old man, Kova's off script here.
That level 2 shield paying off for Kova.
Yeah. And he'll get through this. Ooh, getting a little nervous there, but gets it done. Well done for both of these runners to get through with the blind fight. So prieR going to head on over to Stumpy. This will be his last check before he, like I said, you got to go up the mountain at this point. The amount of items that are available up there, you've got 11 if you count the ether tablet, 13 if you include the tower of hair that's accessible to you at this point. You've got to get up there. And we get the mirror shield at 25 minutes in.
You know, I would say maybe that's a sign of early T-Rock, but they already had the cape, so that wasn't logic for Laser Bridge. That was just the seed being silly. Now, it looks like prieR is actually going to head over to the Eastern Palace area here.
Interesting check at this point in time, but if it could be exactly what you're saying. prieR could be trying to delay this until we get the Titans-Myth.
Yeah, Death Mountain is certainly a long trek to climb up, so if you can minimize your trips, it's usually better. But with the 6 items here in this area, or up to 6 items, definitely not a bad area. Ooh!
Well, there's our fire rod. It's not going to troll these runners this time around.
Not at all. It might end up pushing them back to Skull Woods. But either way, it will make a couple things a little bit easier up here on Death Mountain.
So that was a good find there for prieR. Now, if we find medallions as well as the Titans-Myth, you said that early Turtle Rock play? Well, guess what?
It could absolutely be in logic by the end of Death Mountain. You never want to dip into Pendant TR, but if the seed hands it to you early, it's kind of hard to resist.
And that would actually give prieR an advantage if that was to be the case, if that game forced that early dip, if he decided to choose it, because Kova did not go to Sahasrahla to get the fire rod.
Yep, the odds of it actually coming up are, I would say, probably low, but it's very, very much within possibility.
You know how commentator curse works.
It's very true. Old man giving a little $20 tip for saving him from the cave. Doesn't seem very fair for saving the man's life.
It was his last 20.
I guess that's fair, you know, this is all I got left. You know, it saved my life, but here, have it. Piece of heart on Spectacle Rock, nobody's gonna care about.
Lumel in Spectacle Rock. Yeah, prieR's gonna go for it. You might as well at this point. Health has been kind of low, and if you can prevent yourself from dying at this stage in the run, why not?
Yeah, if this were a more normal seed in terms of health drops, I could see that getting skipped, but for 6 hearts 30 minutes in, definitely a wise decision to grab it as a safety.
Yeah, if these runners right now had something along the lines of 12, 13 hearts, they would not bother with this, but given the fact that 6 hearts in, and you're heading up to Death Mountain, and you don't know what the seed is going to do to you afterwards, yeah, this is not a bad pickup.
Neither runner choosing to do the bomb jump out of Spectacle Rock, which I believe is a little bit quicker to get over here to East Death Mountain, but not by a big margin.
All right, we head to Paradox Cave. 7 items inside this one cave. We start off with the 2 on the bottom.
The 2 on the bottom / middle. Because topographical logic.
That's why it's called called Paradox Cave.
And nothing but junk there in the first 2.
Right is wrong. Wrong is right, and we have no idea where we are anymore.
Having a little bit of trouble with that mini Moldorm there.
Yeah, this is not textbook for how to kill the mini Moldorms. But we do find the silver arrows.
Would be a much nicer find with the bow, but they're nice to have in advance. Landing the nice and quick bomb jump to get over here and head up to the top. Presumably heading over to Ether Tablet and Hera before checking Spiral Cave here.
Yeah, it makes total sense at this point because you still want to find that Titans-Smith because this would help out with your routing so much as we wait to see it. So it's just a 20 rupee on top of the island. Nether runner's going to go and grab that.
Making good use of the hookshot there to speed up that little walk across the mountain just a little bit. One of the main benefits of hookshot is it's great for movement.
Alright, we're going to go to the Ether Tablet. Both of these runners can go ahead and check this, and then they're going to pop into the Tower of Hera. And we find another piece of heart.
It's a nice thing to find, I guess, but at this point, they're kind of looking for something that gives them somewhere to go.
Well, there's a place to go with the big key, but it's not what you're talking about.
Gonna hope to not find the small key, at least not before 2 items are found, so they don't have to consider a coffee break.
But it's 10:30 in the morning. It's the perfect time for a coffee break.
That is true. Very clean beetle room by prieR there with the spin and then the slash to knock the other beetle right down the pit. Kova taking a little bit more straightforward way of just double slashing both of the beetles.
Another piece of heart turns out to be here in the Tower of Hera compass. So either Moldorm will have the key or the key's locked in the chest downstairs.
Worth a note, it always concerns me watching people line up that bomb jump there without using the spin to make it free, because falling there is such a annoying time loss.
Yeah, you fall down 2 levels if you end up dropping down. All right, Moldorm. Will this be our usual friend Trolldorm? Well, he tried. Oh, wow, he is trying.
This is trying his hardest, and prieR is doing everything he can to avoid it.
Yeah, give prieR some credit for being super patient during that fight, because that's what ended up winning it in 1 cycle. And we get the key to the basement. Guess where we're going?
Going to everyone's favorite tile room. Not the tile room that everyone hopes to see on the run-throughs, but a tile room.
And Kova's Moldorm a whole lot faster, but prieR's going to be the first one to head down to the basement, see what we have inside.
Canis Mario makes a very easy setup for the coffee break strats here. We'll see if he uses that or if he does usual fire rod strategy. Oh, sword beams.
Yeah, sword beam works too.
And the plus to fire rod or sword beams being you don't have to do an extra menu, just a little bit harder to pull off. Now walking off so he can start to take some damage, and that'll bring him to a setup for a death warp out of the basement.
Yeah, because otherwise it's an annoying walk out. And you notice that prieR puts himself down to 1 heart. And we'll take the remaining hits against these staff falls. There we go. And we find that the item in here is not needed. It's just 50 rupees.
Yeah, it's definitely a A disappointing thing to waste 45 seconds of staring at tiles flying at your face for.
Alright, we have one final spot here on our tour. It is going to be the Spiral Cave. Could that have something to progress this seed, or is the progression down in the mainland? We still have yet to check the desert area. Gina could have something. Eastern could have something. You know what place neither runner checked either?
Which one are you thinking of? Because I can think of a few.
Well, I was thinking of that frosty place that's on the eastern end on Lake Hylia.
Yeah, that was one of the ones. That cave that's got around a 17% chance of having progression, but really annoying to go to.
Half magic, interesting in Spiral Cave. As Kova goes into Spike Cave, and I'm very worried about this because I don't know if he's going to have enough to survive this.
Yeah, this is going to be real tight if he can make it. I don't think he
He's
will.
not going to make it. He's not going to make it. Nope, he's dead. Yeah. Oh, no. As prieR heads on over towards Agina, so Kova did not make it through. That half magic definitely would have helped, and therefore Kova will not go to Spiral Cave to get that. And that was huge in a race yesterday that I called. Is it going to be huge this time around? Well, we'll see later on because prieR is not heading to that area.
Yeah, Spike Cave was a bold call. It was in logic with the bottle and cape, but with that bottle having nothing but a B, not so much helpful.
Yeah, just didn't have enough health to get through it at that point. And the magic situation there, you know, everything just didn't work out well for that Spike Cave to work out. We found a heart container at Agina, and so the next stop will be desert.
And we're going to be hoping to not find a early boots lock and locked out of all the items. Hopefully they can find something here. I'm kind of hoping for that ice rod cave that you mentioned to have some payoff.
Just 20 rupees turns out to be on the desert ledge as we head inside Desert Palace. It is a pendant dungeon, but at this point, our options are starting to become limited.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if we didn't see a play into the back of Skull Woods here shortly if Desert doesn't pay off.
Yeah, one of our runners can do that, the other one cannot at this point in time.
And Desert is not boots locked so far. The small key in the map chest.
Our container and the first of the two items in here.
See, now they have blue mail, the seed is okay with giving them some health.
There's the big key, so this dungeon is beatable. Don't know what's on the torch. Could very well be the second item, could be the map. Could be the compass.
Yep, and could be something interesting like, you know, the Titan's mitts.
Instead, it's 50 rupees.
So they know both items. They know Desert was kind of a red herring with that book.
And prieR doesn't know this at this point, but this is not a pedestal required seed. Now, prieR's coming back up here. Now we're going to find out what Kova died trying to get. And if this is an important item, this is going to be bad for Kova for the time being, because it's going to take him a while to get back up here.
Yeah, you don't want to have to route in Spike Cave on a second trip up Death Mountain until you absolutely have to. So this will be a very big moment in this race.
Kova will head on over towards Hashvilla. Probably will dip into Eastern at this point. because we haven't seen anything else. But he will get the fire rod at this point.
Yep, well, which will put these two on pretty much even footing, depending on what we find here.
All right, here it is. Is there something big in Spike Cave? Oh, it's a sword upgrade. Oh boy.
I mean, of all the things that could be there for Kova, that's probably one of the better options in terms of useful items. But still a big loss to not have that tempered.
That could come into play later if we don't find any other swords.
Yeah, tempered over Master Sword is one of the biggest time saves you get weapon-wise, so it definitely hurts. It's just not game-defining necessarily.
Well, it could be. We'll find out later on. I mean, this is the one of the cases where we won't know until much later, because the way it's shaping up at this point, we may not ever have to go back to that area.
Very true. It's going to depend on if they end up needing to go to Dark Death Mountain for something progression-wise, then we might see the extra check, but we aren't really sure if they're going to find anything up there they need.
Interesting decision here by Kova, not going into Eastern. Both of these runners are skipping out on Eastern, and I can understand why. They want to get there when they get the bow, but at this point, the options are becoming limited. As we head it over to Ice Rod Cave, get the 50 rupees there, and Kova is going to go into the Palace of Darkness.
This is a pretty solid play, I'd say. There are up to 5 items available here. They've got the lamps, so they can get through the whole dungeon, assuming that the first chest is a small key and it's not entirely bow locked.
prieR setting himself up for fake flippers at this point. So we know that we're going to find out some logic breaks at this point, but we are going to, at the end, get one thing that is in logic. Oh, shovel on the island. That's nasty to see because you never know if it's going to be required.
That is just mean. 100% mean. And it is...
Flippers!
Oh!
In the mirror!
Okay, so Pod was bow locked, and prieR just completely skipped the reason to do it. So Kova going straight over here to head over to Hobo. We'll get that mirror as well. That was very wonderful timing. I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I am. So everything that Kova's doing now is in logic. What prieR's doing is out of logic until he gets to Zora.
Oh, the awkward right swim into that portal can be a nightmare.
Yeah, it's gonna be careful here because you can't take any hits while you're doing fake flippers.
Man should turn himself around as he was going through the door. Link's face just kind of sticking out.
Ooh, it's an ether!
So this is where all the progression was hiding, behind the flippers. Oh! Oh!
Oh my goodness! Kova's gonna get the... No, he went away from her! Oh!
Kova, no! Go back, Kova. Go back.
Oh, I know what he's doing. I think I know exactly what he's doing. Or not. Oh, he's...
Oh, he might be going to grab the shovel on the way to Zora.
He could be, yes. Because you never know if that's going to be required. But that bow right there on the island, wow. Wow.
So, interestingly, prieR looks to be doing exactly what I expected him to do. He's going to go sequence break that bow.
Oh, that's right, yes. All right, yes. Let's go heads into Swamp. Now, what prieR's doing, he's going to be setting up a water dash, and then he's going to do a fake flipper setup here. And so, pretty much what happens, you see him walking along the edge of the pit right there. That stores up the ability to do a water dash. Now, the next stage of this, what prieR is going to be doing is setting up fake flippers, because if he dumps into the water right now, he would be under the water walk. But diving into the fake flippers, right now the fake flippers take the priority. So getting into the portal, he still has this water walk stored up. He can't take any hits, he can't go onto land. So now he goes into the waterfall. This is going to allow him to walk on the water, but he still has the thing charged up. He'll walk over to the edge here, just south of the Zora. That will allow him to dive off there, keep his ability to walk on the water, and sequence break his way to the bow. And there it is right there. As you see, he dumps off. He does still maintain the dash. Therefore, he's able to skip the flippers and get that bow.
Bravo for a great description of that. And that is a major sequence break for him, as Kova unfortunately making the swamp play over all that wonderful stuff just north of where he was before. But now prieR is going to get to single dip both Pod and Eastern with the Mire in one fell swoop, which is very, very nice for him.
I'm just interested in why Kova didn't head over to the waterfall or head up to Zora at this point. That was an interesting play right there, and it looks like that was the main play right there. Getting the boots, getting the bow, and prieR sequence breaking his way to that bow. Now he will get the flippers. This will put him back into logic real soon once he heads into the Palace of Darkness.
Yep, and he's going to shake his head at the logic a little bit when he sees those flippers in there and be like, what double dip do you want me to do? Now, this play by Kova could pay off. There's still quite a bit of stuff that they could potentially need, a few things that they definitely need. Actually, now that I look at it again, the only things they definitely need are the mitts and the flute that we don't have accounted for so far.
And there's the flippers for prieR. So now prieR knows that he's in logic. Also, that the game wanted him to double dip the Palace of Darkness.
Yep, and there are a lot of moments in Rando where you kind of start to feel behind. That's one of those moments where you start to think, maybe I've got a little bit of an advantage here.
Yeah, and that's the case right there. But prieR, knowing that he's back in logic, it's a good feeling when you get yourself back on logic immediately like that, because then you start really worrying where the seed wanted you to go.
Kova going ahead and getting the left side of Swamp out of the way right off the bat. We'll be getting these two very slow chests here soon. prieR with the flippers and the big key in that chest there can completely skip the vanilla big key chest because it is guaranteed to be a key at this point.
A key for a key. As we get the red boomerang out of that one chest. So left side swamp turns out to be the bust.
Nope, and prieR is going to go check this chest, despite that it's going to be a key. May not have noticed the two items that weren't small keys, and didn't realize that this was a small key by logic. The normal thing is Pod is required to have 4 small keys up front, so as soon as you find 2 non-small keys, you know everything else up front is a small key. Going to be heading to the back, however, where usually most of the goods that Pod has to offer are.
And people in chat discussing the possibility of go mode at this point. Well, we don't know just yet. We know that the flute is still going to be required. In fact, the flute could very well be one of the last items we need for go mode. It could be one of the other two medallions.
Oh! Kova gets a payoff from Swamp. Titan's mitts hanging out in the drowned chest. That is going to keep him away from those boots and bow longer, probably, but it's something for this play.
He needed something to come on this play too, yeah. So that was definitely a good move right there for Cove heading into Swamp, because now he's going to be able to maybe double up on some checks that prieR, if he doesn't go into Swamp soon, would end up making. So the good thing about having Titan's Mitt in there is you have to get there at some point.
Yeah, it's not a dungeon that you can avoid doing to begin with, so it's in the way no matter what.
And also, that also means that there's going to be no way that you can go mode Swamp. As we were mentioning about the flute thing, that could be one of the last items. We definitely needed the Titans, man. We could still need one of the two medallions, but we're just the flute and maybe a medallion away from go mode.
Yep, very close to it, relatively early here.
And Kova's going to showcase right there with the Argus fight why not having the Tempered Sword is kind of a big deal at this point. That's a little bit longer of a fight against Argus on both stages. Not a super amount of time because Kova knows how to combat, but it's still time that prieR is not going to be using.
Absolutely, and with that crystal, we just gotta hope that Kova is going to head east, do his Hylia Island and Zora check, because it's going to be a major time loss if he starts looking other places before going up there.
He's going to, I would assume, head to the right, but he's going to check Bombo's tablet first.
Definitely a good plan. There's really no better time than after Swamp Palace throughout this inn.
I can think of only one other time, and that's just when you're doing purple chest, but at this point in the run, get over there, check it.
And prior already approaching the Helmosaur fight, didn't really find anything in pod outside of those flippers.
Yeah, nothing major in this Palace of Darkness. It's just what those flippers unlock is the bigger discussion at this point. But I have a feeling that Kova is going to go grab that shovel at some point here. I would assume soon, but the Titans event may be getting Kova to do other things, like the breadsmiths as well as the purple chest.
Yep, and that was kind of the double-edged sword of that Swamp play, is he needed something to be in there for it to not be harmful, but by having something in there, it kind of makes him want to go a different direction.
And we know that the boots would be an advantage here for Kova just based on mobility at this point. Now, I'm surprised that while Kova's doing this checks that he did not go to grab the shovel, which now would be the time to go ahead and check that in case it may have something. We don't know if it's going to have something. It's possible that he might not.
Yeah, it definitely would have been easiest to grab there, although I guess you could make the argument that going out of your way and coming back, maybe it's not much different than just grabbing it later. We're finally getting the Eastern Palace check on prior's side. First item, just 20 rupees. And a sad peg cave check on Kova's side, without the boots.
And we find 20 rupees all over the place.
We'll see what the blacksmith has to offer. $10 charge to get something.
Is this something that is going to be required? No, not those 3 bombs. And Kova is going to go ahead and end the route here. I think Kova wants to go ahead and check what's over in Hookshot Cave as well as the Super Bunny Cave. Maybe try to get revenge on Spike Cave. We'll see if that comes into play as well. It would be a real good move for Kova to do that, only because of the combative advantage that Kova would get.
Yeah, it's definitely to his advantage to go there. The question is, would he be willing to do both Spiral Cave and Spike Cave in the same trip, which is always a little bit awkward.
A little less awkward with the mirror, but still awkward enough.
Either way, we're getting a little bit of new information here. First was Super Bunny Cave. After prieR is done with Eastern, I'm trying to think what else he has open with to him that isn't Swamp Palace. I don't think it's a whole lot.
Pendant Skull. That's about it.
Yeah, which isn't a very long check, so it wouldn't hurt him too much to do. Hey, and the other sword!
So now we know where all 4 swords are, so what we were worried about for Kova, never mind.
Yep, that's a very good find for him. If prieR goes through Super Bunny Cave, gets butter, it's not that big of a difference. But the Master of the Tempered was a big one. T-Rock requires Ether.
Which is something that prieR has at this point. So the question now becomes, is there something required in Pendant Turtle Rock? Hey, there's the Cane of Burna.
And another medallion.
And we get the magic powder, a bottle, and red mail.
That Hookshot Cave actually had, like, all decent stuff. Now Kova gonna do Spiral Cave, going to be getting his half magic. And I think prieR might be heading straight to Swamp. So
Yeah.
the advantage of those mitts is very rapidly going away.
Yeah, you have to go to Swamp at this point. You got the 6 item density versus going back to Skull for 1 item. prieR doesn't have the knowledge that this is not a pedestal required seed, but prieR's not going to be worried about that until you start scratching your head about the location of particular items.
Yep, the knowledge is useful early, but not necessarily 100% useful in general. Looks like Kova is going to go back up for round 2 with Spike Cave.
Yeah, you just gotta have magic. You got the Cane of Burna in your arsenal here. This is not a bad check to make. We know it's going to be a sword, but for Kova, this is going to be now the Butter Sword.
Which will absolutely max out his equipment level.
Let's see, Mirror Shield, Red Mail, the Butter Sword. All good equipment to have. Kova is going to have no problem with bosses at this point.
prieR in for the long, slow dredge through Swamp Palace, looking to eventually get the Titan's meds. I guess, knowing he still needs at least Flute and the mids, he'll probably do left side immediately.
Yeah, I mean, he could try to rush it, but with too much items still on the table, this is not a gamble you want to make, as Kova does need to make it to Zora at this point. I think Kova needs to make it there. There's something keeping Kova away from doing the Zora check. Maybe it's the thought process that I've been burned by Zora. Zora's had nothing, so no major reason for me to get up there. But Kova needs to make it up there now. Is now the time? Yes, it is. No, it's not.
No.
We're going to ice. Oh, come on.
I was
Nice
so worried
jump
about
move.
that. I was so worried about that when he was swimming down there, and I'm like, oh, he's doing the play to Zora. Nope. So on the bright side, this is a crystal dungeon. It's something that he needs to clear. And if Flute is in here, then it's something that's not going to be go-moded by prieR later. So this isn't necessarily a time loss, but he'll be doing it without boots, which is a time loss.
I'm just so curious why not to go to Zora if this is just past performances speaking loudly here, or whatever the case might be. But it's just, this is a really interesting decision right now, especially given all the things that the flippers was unlocking in this seed.
So one thing that it might be is you were mentioning before the race the, challenge votes and everything, and maybe there's a little bit of feeling like he has to gamble a bit. He got those flippers, got the mirror, said, oh, with fake flippers I could have got this earlier. Let's just ignore the rest of the flipper checks and hope that just the mirror come from them.
That's an unorthodox kill of the two Staphos Knights, but got it done. I was worried that it wasn't going to register that, but yeah, the bomb blast worked just in time. And yes, you are right. That is a possibility that could come into play. The challenge votes that gave 93% chance to win to prieR versus Kova's 7. Maybe that's weighing on the mind.
Having a little bit of trouble with the bomb jump here.
Yeah, it's all about positioning, and we're starting to run out of health at this point. Down to 4 hearts, so Kova's going to have to pull this off really soon. Down to 3 hearts. Maybe this is nerves at this point. And you gotta have it's a hard time trying to keep yourself on tilt. You gotta make sure that you do not lose your composure while you're trying to pull this off.
Nice use of the Kane and Brian there.
So prieR is gonna leave Swamp, has gambled on the 2 items on the left side. We know it's a good gamble. prieR doesn't know, but prieR wants to head to ice right now as well. I'm still wondering about that shovel. Neither runner has opted to grab it. It's possible that we could have Vanilla here.
If Shovel on Hylia Island to Vanilla Flute is the annoying factor of this race, because neither of them want to grab it, I'll be quite happy with that.
Just a reminder of the stakes here, 63 minutes into this run, the winner. They qualify for brackets. They are guaranteed a spot in the 128-person brackets that start after week 7 is done, beginning in early June. The loser, they've got a stressful week next week with all the other 4 and 2s, where the loser of that match not guaranteed a bracket spot at all.
Yeah, and just with the people on the list of 4-2s already, that is a terrifying place to be for week 7.
You're telling me. Vanilla Big Key.
prieR missing that bomb throw. I always do the same thing when that happens. Try to grab the bomb again, then it just blows up on me.
There's the flute inside the Ice Palace. Now, this is good, but it's also bad. Why is it bad? Because it's going to draw Kova further away from Zora.
Also, it may put prieR in go mode before he's been up there and made those checks. Depending on that Mire medallion, prieR might be in go mode as soon as this is done. Kova's still got to go up there to get the bow before then.
And prieR is going to be in 66% go mode at that point. 33% chance the prieR needs the Bombo's medallion to get into Misery Mire, but it's a case where that flute is a big deal.
Yep, and I'd almost guarantee the first thing he does after leaving Ice Palace is going to be flute to Mire and see if he's got the right medallion. Also, I just realized, if we do have the medallion for it, this is prieR's 6th crystal.
Oh my. prieR better not be go moding this thing. Yeah, he's going back up. Okay. I was starting to worry that prieR is going to go mode this thing, because if prieR does that, we are... There's the Bombos.
Okay.
Oh!
So that's no mode.
Oh! As soon as prieR gets the flute, he's not done the right side yet.
So prieR is definitively far and away in the lead now. I think it's pretty safe to say.
Yeah, because even regardless of what's been going on at this point, prieR still has to do, rather, Kova still has to do Eastern and the Palace of Darkness. prieR just has to head it over to Misery Mire. And here comes the check, and prieR is about to go into go mode. And the play that won it here for prieR, a sequence break.
Yep. And I mean, even if it weren't the sequence break, even if he waited and got those flippers first, just the decision to go check everything flippers locked all together instead of delaying those couple checks was really the big difference.
And it's also a mixture there of Kova not going back, heading up to the Zora area. Again, this could be past performance. This could be a gamble here. But it is a case where this seed put too much weight behind the flippers for you to ignore it. So, Kova with this chest grab at 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 45 minutes, or 45 seconds, rather. 1 hour, 7 minutes, and 45 seconds. The first of these two into
go mode.
Thank you, Mentos Man. And it's guaranteed go mode. There's no speculation here. We have the medallion needed to get into Misery Mire. It's just a matter of which one.
Yep, all the usual, is this going to be required stuff? The boots, the fire rod, the cane, the medallions. We got everything. And this is actually the rare seed as well, where all 3 pendant dungeons, the only thing required between all 3 of them was the lamp, which most people can skip at this level of play.
prieR ends up losing the puffs to the corner, but uses the fire rod to great execution. So now the next question for prieR is, when he heads into desert, or rather not desert, but Misery Mire, will prieR showcase the new glitch?
I hope so. I really love that glitch.
For Kova's hopes and beliefs, let's hope that Mire is not accessible at this point.
I'm not sure how it could not be accessible, but we can hope for it.
Well, Kova only has 1 medallion.
Oh, okay, I get what you mean. I thought... Okay, yeah, I misunderstood that for a moment. Yeah, for him, diving into Mire would be a bad thing.
It is Quake, so Kova does not have access to Misery Mire. And that's good news because then Kova won't be digging deep into a Misery Mire that may not need to be dug deep at all.
Yeah, conveniently enough for him, he's missing the medallions for both of these dungeons, so that may push him up to that Zora area.
He needs to flute to 8 at this point, but he's not fluting to 8. We are heading back up to the Dark World. I have a feeling this is going to be more mirror checks and whatnot at this point. But prieR in Go mode heading into Misery Mire. Tempered sword, silver arrows in hand, no reason to check anything else. Time to just go in and beat the dungeons.
Yep, and we were discussing that new glitch briefly. prieR did not do the setup for it out of the flute, so you may still do the older version, but definitely won't be doing the newest version.
Yeah, there's a glitch that allows you to use the fire rod to set up the crystal switches without even being in a room with a crystal switch. It's been a new development here, and it's been the bells of the Link to the Past, no major glitches, as well as our community here over the past week since they discovered it. And it's been fun seeing runners end up showcasing it. I know you showcased it in your race on Monday.
Yep, and then the glitch evolved extremely rapidly over the next 2 days or so and completely changed from that point.
So let's see if this turns out to be the God Mire. There's a small key. Now, if we find the big key coming up in the next room, this is the God Mire, and we can go ahead and start setting up the basement.
Yep, and as a small little note that will probably, and will not really matter at all, prieR will very unlikely find that butter sword, so he'll have a slightly more difficult to pull off Ganon fight.
Kova wanted to check King's Tomb. Realized, I don't have boots for this.
Okay, he's now going to route in Catfish, which he will route into the Waterfall and Zora area.
Yeah, probably won't be real happy with himself when he finds what's up there. Going to buy some potions first to get the safeties. Don't have a lot of rupees to spend, so just make sure you don't spend it all. Oh no. Well, the Zora didn't have anything, so that's nothing really important. The Go mode is when Kova gets the well, where was Quake? I'm trying to remember. Where's Quake? It was in Palace of Darkness, wasn't it?
I forget if it was Pod or Eastern Palace, but it was something that the bow unlocked for sure.
There we go. There's the big key for prieR. Time to head on over to Vitreous.
The worst feeling in Mire when you get that big key and don't have the small key to go right up from that room straight into the back of the dungeon.
Yeah. Just time to use the backup strats. Go over into this room here and teleport your way to the second half of the Misery Mire.
Now, let's hope Kova doesn't leave with the boots and the Ether Medallion, because he knows T-Rock requires Ether.
Now, at this point, he's going to go ahead and check the Zora here. At least get the ledge. That's the big part of the information. I didn't see a run setup here from prieR, so it looks like prieR is setting this up to just do it the original, traditional way of doing Misery Mire.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. It's a lot better known by most people. Not a huge amount have taken the time to really practice the new strategy.
Kova, you need 500 rupees for that. Zora just opened up his mouth and said, nope, not giving you anything.
I mean, in all honesty, that's pretty much what he does when you give him the money as well, most of the time.
You know, they should have some text like that saying "Get lost, bum" when you go up to Zora without the rupees.
I know some of the other NPCs do have text for it. Looks like Zora is just the, hey buddy, bye buddy.
And prieR is done with Misery Mire, killing off Vitreous pretty easily with those silver arrows, gets a key for the efforts. Kova is not in go mode, won't be in go mode until it gets the Quake, but is on the way to get there. But prieR is on his way to somewhere else. Mentos Man, go ahead.
Well, he's going to be on his way to Ganon's tower with one specific goal in mind, finding the big key to go upstairs. There are going to be 22 locations where that big key could be, and we play this little game of guessing which one it's going to be in. So, while... Oop.
I was going to just say, if you want to go ahead and put in your guesses in the chat, people have already sprouted out some numbers between 1 and 22. Tell us where you think the big key is going to be.
I saw you guess 10 there, Rick.
Yeah, I'm going to actually guess 10, and it doesn't matter what way we open up those chests, it's going to be chest number 10 where the big key turns out to be. What's your guess?
I always just guess 22 because I enjoy watching people have to go through all of G Tower and then reach the sad realization that it's in Tile Room.
Even if they don't check Tile Room first?
That is true. They could check Tile Room first and then reach the sad realization that it was, you know, somewhere farther and easier to find.
Behind the ice, almost.
Yep. I actually had a seed that I commentated a while back. There was like that Tile Room gamble for number 1 and big key in chest number 22 in Rando Room.
That's disgusting.
And we are about to enter GT. Kova making his way through Pod. I believe should be getting his Quake Medallion soon and entering Go Mode himself.
Yeah, but delaying that trip up there to the ledge to get that bow, Kova knows the chances to win at this point just went down with that, just because of how easy it was to go ahead and do that when you're checking the other things that Zora led to. Key number 1, chest 1 turns out to be a key. We're heading right side.
Yeah, but we also got the mushrooms, so you know, maybe they'll go back and try to see what's there. Probably not.
This ain't key sanity, bud.
It's the one thing I miss about the Key Sanity tournament.
The going into Ganon's tower and then having to leave
Yep,
because you just found an item there that could lead you to the big key.
that is exactly what I miss. Now onward to the compass room, getting ready to mirror out. We get 20 rupees, heart container, more 20 rupees, and some arrow capacity.
So, unless it's in Tile Room, it is not on the right-hand side. prieR grabs that extra key, and it's time to head over left side. We'll see what's on the torch. And just a small key, but prieR's going to go ahead and grab that with good reason.
Yep, never ever worth leaving that small key on the torch there. It can bite you.
I tried it once. I didn't like it. You shouldn't either. This is a public service announcement by the foundation that cares. Ice Rod is there. Now we can go and beat Turtle Rock.
We can now get those 3 master bombs off the pedestal. And chest 8 through 11 did not have anything.
I'll rip my guess.
It's always surprising how many big 20s end up in GT. Until you remember that it's pre-filled with junk, and then you're like, okay, that makes sense. Fire Snake
And-
Room, Piece of Heart.
Yep. Randomizer room. What chest number are we on now?
That would have been 12, I believe. No, that would have been 13.
Number 14 is a piece of heart, 15 is a bee, 16 is the compass, and 17 turns out to be 50 rupees. The hunt is still on. We are down to 4 chests until it's in number 22, your tile room.
Yep, Ice Armos is pretty common, so probably the more likely option, but we can hope. Legitimately seeing people route through all of Ganon Tower basement is actually pretty fun, so even if it's 21, it's still a pretty satisfying thing to watch.
Bob doesn't have it. Bob has a bomb upgrade. And we are going to go see what the Armos Knights have behind them, and then... Could we have fun with a tile room? We'll find out. Number 19. No. 20. No. 21 it is. Sorry, Mentos man. It's in chest number 21. So if you guess chest number 21, you get a little bit of love and affection from us.
The almost vanilla big key, just, move back a chest. So now prieR's going to be making the way up the gauntlet, which, given how experienced he is, should not pose any problems, even going into with only 5 hearts.
Direct Sharna with the correct guess of 21. Congratulations from us here at Speed Gaming.
Getting blocked by the red Igor trying to dash out of there. Down to 4 hearts now. We'll see if he takes the safety room at all.
And it turns out that he will go safety door down to 3 hearts. This is a good decision at this point. You don't want to die heading up in here.
Yeah, not many places worse to die than climbing up GT.
Yeah, you also don't want to pull up the mirror and the gauntlet.
At this point, it really wouldn't matter, but prieR is in no way aware of the fact that he is as far ahead as he is.
Yeah, for all he knows, he could be uneven terms with Kova, but probably feels that he's a little ahead because of that water dash.
Yeah, the sequence break saving the double dip to pod is definitely going to make you feel good.
Now, the one thing that probably did make prieR feel a little closer to Kova is when he found the flippers easily accessible in the first chest of Palace of Darkness. But still, you went single instead of double that dip.
Yeah, and pod is not a quick dungeon to walk to, so that isn't an insignificant double dip to avoid.
So just taking a look at the past times here for prieR, it does not look like that prieR is going to be getting a tournament best for himself in this run. 126.31 was his tournament best in week 2, but this will be ranked amongst his top runs of the tournament.
Yeah, this seed was actually super friendly. There were a lot of potential red herrings. We saw some of them on Kova's side. But it was pretty friendly if you made a couple of right decisions at the right time.
And this has to feel good for prieR after the 22-minute loss to Andy in last week's week 5.
Absolutely. From experience, taking a big loss like that feels awful. To come back and put up a very, very good time like this is kind of a confidence rebuilder.
And if you're not checking anything else, he's got no reason to do so with the tempered sword as well as the silver arrows.
Yep, the most you could ask for was butter, and if you do Ganon right, butter saves you 0 time whatsoever on the fight.
And if you save very little time, I mean, if you don't do it right, it still doesn't save you a whole lot of time.
Very, very true. That Red Igor kind of dodged Kova a little bit there, so he throws a pot at it in frustration.
Ooh, just a little outside there for prieR. 2 of the shots going just to the right. Respawns with a double right there, so 1-2 for the first 2 cycles. Just a little outside on that one there, so 1-2-1. We're up to 4. And there's the 5 and 6, so 1-2-1-2.
Not a bad fight. 4 cycles is very, very good. Meanwhile, Kova gets his Quake Medallion from Armos and is now in go mode as prieR heads into Ganon. So we'll see how this fight goes. The ultimate goal is to get your 12 hits for Phase 1 and Phase 2 in 1 cycle. It is very doable, but is a little bit tight to pull off.
Kova's in go mode, and we're checking King's Tomb at this point, and I'm not certain why at this point. Maybe forgetting that they do have what they need to get inside of Misery Mire at this point. So prieR Ganon fight, 12 hits with the slash of the sword or 6 spins. Put you on to the next cycle. Here we go, cycle 3.
Yeah, prieR making good use of that half magic and his cape to just get the 1 cycles for free.
And did you get the arrows on Death Mountain? Certainly. Here you go. 1 and 2. Have some fun. Doesn't get the torch glitch. Doesn't really matter at this point because here's 3 and 4. And prieR57 will be joining the 128 players in brackets with the 5th win of the tournament, the win over Kova46. Get your GGs in the chat for prieR winning this match with a very solid sub 130.
Yep, a fantastic time. He avoided all the potential pitfalls of that seed pretty much. Just kind of ended up going exactly where the seed expected him to most of the time. It was very, very well played.
Yeah, that official time on SR.TV, 127.55 for the solid win over Kova. Kova now into the Misery Mire. So, just a couple of notes here. First of all, prieR's big decision to do the water dash paid off huge. It saved the double dip of the Palace of Darkness. It got him the bow got him the bow sooner than you would otherwise think. A huge sequence break there for prieR, and Kova's indecision to go, rather not indecision, but Kova's decision not to go up to Zora really hurt them in the end. So it was just a tough point there, but Kova decided not to go back to Zora. But, you know, I mentioned just a few moments ago, we'll bring prieR in for a conversation in just a moment. I just want to state this here, you know, prieR ended up losing to Andy last week by 22 minutes. I don't mean that as in a reason why you have to expect that to be a bad thing. It weighs on your mind when you end up losing by 22 minutes, and it doesn't matter who your opponent is.
Yeah, you could be playing against the top tier runners, you could be playing against Ben, against Andy. Doesn't matter. When you lose by a big margin like that, it does sit with you for a while.
Yeah, so that's all I'm meaning by that. It doesn't really mean that, oh, it's Andy, so the 22 minutes he should be fine with. It comes down to luck. It just comes down to what weighs on your mind, especially when this is now your second chance to clinch your spot in the brackets. So congratulations to prieR. 127.55. Your thoughts on that seed? Hello, prieR? Trying to check if whether my Morse code is up to par. I'm not really detecting what the answer to that question was.
Can't say I've got it either. All right, well, Kova's making his way over to Vitreous at this point, finishing off his final dungeon as we wait to see what's going on with prieR, trying to fix some of the tech issues we're having at this point. So, just a interesting race here, Mentos. Yeah, it really was, as all of these 4-1 matchups this week have been.
And you can feel some of the stress that the 4-1s have had this week, because again, that 4-2 group next week is going to be extremely dangerous. There's some real good runners that are in that path right there.
Yep, I am not as up to date on the results of races I'd like to be for this week, but I've seen several of the names who ended up there, and they kind of make me glad I won this week. I know at least Problems and Elminster are both in the 4-2 range, and those are not fun opponents to draw.
Gamer Kills in that 4-2 as well. All right, prieR, can you hear us this time?
Yeah, I can. Hello.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Congratulations on your win, 127.55. Your thoughts on the seed?
Nothing too special to say about it. I think it was pretty linear. I had some options when I found mids. You could check. I think Bombo's tablet, Kova46, all Jeremiah things and Purple Chest, something like that. But I chose to dip into Ice Palace first because I don't know. I felt like I had to do that though. So I was very happy to find flute there, and I think it was a go mode item, and after that it was just execution matter.
Yeah, getting both the flute and the bombos out of there, pretty much. Getting the bombos especially took out any possibility of doubt that you were going to be in go mode, leaving Ice Palace. But fantastic run. One big thing that still stood out for your run was the water dash to get the bow on the sequence break. What were your thoughts when you saw the flippers as the first item in Palace of Darkness? Did you feel behind? Did you feel ahead?
I think it was a good thing to do that dash glitch that made me I didn't have to double dip into pod, but yeah, that third chest didn't give me a big advantage. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think this was a case where the glitch ended up saving you time, and it was good that you decided to execute it immediately, seeing the bow there. Amazing what the bow ended up yielding you in this seed, because it yielded you the boots as well as the bow in this case.
Yeah, exactly.
So you pretty much had an idea that you were ahead through most of the run because of that. 21 chests it took for you to get to the big key, because you ended up going right-hand side. What did you lose any thought of maybe being in the lead when you had found out that it was behind the ice armors?
I don't know. I had that kind of situation. I always do the same thing. I first go right. If I find a small key, I continue going right. But I just take the small key under the pot and mirror out to do left side. And I don't usually go straight right up to ice armors. That's not a thing I like to do. So yeah, it was pretty unfortunate, but you have to make choices, and some people love going left first, some people right, full right, dark magician route. So I don't know.
So you ended up winning this match after dropping last week to Andy. How good did this win feel?
Yeah, it feels pretty good. I'm happy I won that one to qualify to the brackets. I'm very happy.
Yeah, you get to avoid the slaughterhouse that's going to be the 4 and 2s next week. So you get to sit back, watch, and enjoy the fur flying.
Yes.
In case you're wondering what the main difference between you and Kova was here, Kova put off going to Zora area and Waterfall of Wishing until nearly his last option.
Ouch.
Yeah, he ended up going and getting the flippers out of the Palace of Darkness right about the same time you were getting the bow. Like, it was just after you got the bow where we found the flippers. And then he ended up getting the mirror off Hobo and thought that must have been the progression. So he skipped off doing the remainder of the Zora area until very later.
Okay. Okay, I guess that Mirror could have dropped him in some other place. So I'm happy I did fake flippers to Zora early enough to find Bo on the ledge.
The interesting thing about this race was, for quite a while, until that pivotal turn. You two were mirroring each other pretty well. The checks that you made, Kova made the same.
Yeah, I think early game was very linear. You didn't have that many options, despite having Dark World access very early. You couldn't do much things. I think it's pretty normal. We had the same kind of routing.
It was even little things like, for once you got to the Dark World, you both chose to do Hype Cave first. You both then opted to go to Skull Woods first. You both ended up going to Thieves Town afterwards. So it's just little things like that also were important, mirroring of each other, that, you know, even if Kova ended up getting the thing within logic, it did seem like you were going to be a little bit ahead regardless. It's just the gap widened because of that. Also, Kova ended up taking a death in Spike Cave.
Ouch.
He did get back later to get the Tempered Sword, but for him it turned out to be the Butter Sword. Tempered was in Super Buddy Cave.
Okay. I think Hype Cave first choice in Dark World is the best one, because you had only 4 arts, I think, and I was searching for some health to make that trip in Dark World more safe.
Yeah, I understand that. This seed was definitely very heart geared towards the end of the run as opposed to the beginning of the run. Like, it was weird to see you guys going through the Dark World with only 4 hearts, and then getting up to Death Mountain with only 6 hearts, which opted for both of you guys to get the blue mail out of Spectacle Rock.
Yeah, at first I thought it was a time loss, but it ended up we didn't find any mail upgrade later. So when I was in Ganon's Tower, I was very happy to have that blue mail.
Turns out Red Mail was in Hookshot Cave, as Kova ended up checking that when he went to go check Super Bunny Cave, but it was a little bit out of the way, and you had no reason to get up there at that point.
Yeah, of course, yes.
Must have felt good to have a seed where you didn't really have to dip into pendant dungeons. Now, you ended up going through desert, so did Kova, but the only item in any of the pendant dungeons that turned out to be logically required was the lamp out of Skull.
Yes, it was a lamp in Skull Woods. Yeah, it feels it feels pretty good to not having to double dip most of the dungeons and doing pendant dungeons. I had very bad bad seeds lately, so I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, even on the double dip side, logically speaking, it was pretty much only that pod dip. Everything else was pretty free to just go into once and clear right away.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but I managed to avoid that.
And how about the escape there, giving you the cane of Samaria as your first item? Oh, here, have a hammer. Never mind that magic need.
Yes. Yes, I prefer hammer to Samaria. It's way much quicker to kill gods.
Kova making their way up the 5th floor of Ganon's tower. And likewise has no reason to check any other chests because silver's in hand, buttered sword, red mail. There's nothing Kova can gain out of this.
Unless he really wants a couple more bombs. I mean, he only has 37.
That's not enough.
When are we gonna get Bomb Ganon for swordless mode?
Devs?
And a pretty nice and clean Moldorm too there as well.
I don't know, he could find himself some more rupees. I don't think 1100 is enough.
I mean, practically that 8 sitting on the end there is slightly increasing his lag. So if you could get a blue rupee, that would help.
As he was not getting enough lag via the butter sword, the mirror shield. We're going bug net here for the Aga 2 fight.
That's the way to do it in this kind of situation. Go for the full-on swag strats.
That's what the audience wants to see, although he's missed on his last 2 swings. Well, he could still be a major league batter, though.
Yeah, pretty much. Got a pretty good average from a baseball standpoint.
And that one here is foul. Enough with the swagging him now. It's time to just go real here. We're going to pull out the sword and finish him off the right way.
Yep, that moment of, okay, I've had enough of this, had my fun, let's just end this.
I'm bored now.
Now in for a very easy Ganon fight. 6 swings for phase 1 and 2, the 4 for phase 3, and the 4 silvers for phase 4.
Really nothing else to say about this. This is going to be a trivial fight at this point.
Yep, barring a fall, this should be done very, very soon. Going to put the cape on just to make it even easier to just stand here and destroy Ganon.
Yeah, not that we were worried about him not making the phase 3 at this point.
It's usually satisfying, especially after you know you've lost in a race, to just put on the cape and wail on Ganon for a while. Kind of take out that frustration on them.
Find the arrows on Death Mountain, certainly. Here we go. Set you up with a couple. Well, no, I'm just going to go with one. Didn't get quite the clean torch as we saw from prieR, so he's only on 3. So this is going to make... Oh, he's going for it. I missed it.
That was a bold move right there.
Yeah, especially considering the fact that he was on the edge at that point, and really, he had no room for error. He went too far up, he would monk into Ganon, and that would push him off the edge. But finishes off the fight.
Yep, and as soon as he walks through that door, this race will be completely over.
1:48:40, the official time for Kova46. So a just short of 21-minute win there for prieR in this Week 6 match. Get your GGs out for both of these runners, Kova46, prieR57.
And that whole time difference pretty much exclusively comes down to that decision to not go to the waterfall in Zora for so long.
And welcome Kova46 to the conversation. Your thoughts on the match?
I gotta remember to mark off Kane when I start off the race.
Is that why after you got the quake while you were checking the King's Tomb?
Exactly. Sorry about the scratchy throat. I'm fighting a cold right now, but yeah, as soon as I saw Quake, I was like, "Okay, I gotta get the cape," and then I'm good to go. But yeah, as soon as I checked my inventory afterwards, I was like, "Oh wait, I have it already."
So you didn't mark which item did you not mark off? You said the Cane of Samaria?
Yeah, I've got a bad habit when I start off with cane or actually burn a cane. I tend to forget those just with the tracker.
Well, it didn't help the fact that the seed allowed you to put away that Cane of Samaria once you got the hammer.
Oh, exactly. That was a great find, starting off with hammer.
So the one question I think we really wanted to find out here is your decision not to continue on with the Zora Ledge and Waterfall play after doing the Hobo. Why was that?
Hobo had the mirror, I believe. Is that correct? Yeah. So as soon as I found mirror, I decided to just go straight for the mirror locations. The tablet, the swamp play. At that point, I felt a little bit behind, so I figured going straight for that would be the more gambling option, but it could have brought me back in the race.
So you thought you were behind at that point and you needed a move to pull that off, and you saw the next item and the logic was the mirror and figured that was what was going to give you the next progression. Just unfortunate that the boots and the bow turned out to be locked behind the flippers.
Exactly. Yeah. And it was the flippers that had the logic. So actually, I have a question for you. What was at Zora? I made the mistake of buying potions on the way up there and left myself with, I think, 460 rupees.
It was either a piece of heart or something. It was insignificant of that. It was in something insignificant, though.
Yeah, I can't recall offhand what it was over there either.
I just know that prieR opted to. He ended up fake flippering his way, got the boots, got the ether, then saw the bow on the edge, and then he pulled off the water dash to do the complete flipper skip, the sequence break.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah, I need to learn those plays. That would have saved a lot of time.
Yeah, this was one of those cases where it actually did save time because of how it wanted the biologic. It wanted you to double dip the Palace of Darkness.
So with that glitch, he had bow before going into pod then, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that would have saved a ton of time with the double dips there.
But that was part of the move. But you're not going back to Zora until you're pretty much out of options. Kind of set the tail forward, 20-minute difference at that point. But overall in this seed, what did you like about the seed? What did you dislike about the seed?
I always love it when it opens up early. I think we had pretty much after the Kakariko village, we had Moon Pearl, gloves, hammer. We could have went pretty much everywhere. The only bad part about that is having 4 hearts and going to Thieves Town and Skull Woods. It's always risky.
Up until your check of the Palace of Darkness, up until that sequence break, both of you pretty much were on the same exact route. You both checked Type Cave at about the same time. You both checked Skull Woods before Thieves Town. Both of you went up to Death Mountain about the same time as well.
That's good to hear. I've seen some of prieR's races before, past tournaments, and he's a great runner. Learned a lot watching these guys with their routing, so I don't have any regrets for the seed. I think I played it well. He just had better plays. So
now,
GG.
One thing I did have to say is your thoughts after pulling out the butter sword in Spike Cave where you died trying to get to about 20 minutes prior.
Yeah, in the back of my mind, I always wanted to go back to Spike Cave. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to make it the first time. Logically, it could have been progression, so I wanted to get there. And it's kind of an out-of-the-way play, but seeing that butter, and I could use that, 20 minutes earlier, like you said.
2 straight days where a runner in a race that I commentate ends up getting to the rock, pulling it up, and then takes the death right as they were doing that.
Yeah, I've seen Andy do a trick where you can actually throw a bomb, hold onto the rock with cape active, so it's not draining your magic, and then let the bomb knock you over. But I don't even think I could get to the rock before setting that up.
So with the loss, you're now down to 4-2. You're part of that bloodbath coming up in week 7. Your thoughts heading into that match?
I am terrified that I'm going to get Solski. I mean, there's a lot of strong runners in the 4-2, and there's going to be some fun races for week 7.
Yeah, there's going to be some really strong races coming up in week 7. Or maybe you might get a scrub like me.
No, you're not a scrub, Rick.
Nah, well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, my routing has been complete crap except for my week 6 race, so we'll see how it goes, but you never know with Randomizer. And good luck to you in week 7.
Thank you. And thanks for Speed Gaming, commentators, Mentos Man and Rick, Deuce for tracking this one for us. GG.
All right, any closing thoughts from any of you?
Yeah, thanks. GG, Cover. Best of luck for your last race. Hope you can qualify. And thanks to you, commentators, or streamer, trackers, everyone making that tournament possible. Thank you very much.
Thanks, prieR. GG.
All right, any closing thoughts here, Mentos Man?
I'll throw out a thank you to both these runners for putting on a great show. It was a very fun one to watch, and Rick, thanks for co-commentating here. It was fun to work with you.
My pleasure. Been a lot of fun doing this, and we still got more races coming up here in the Link to the Past Randomizer tournament. But we've got one going on right now between Dat Lawson and Samurai Man. That's happening right now as we speak. Let me go ahead and pull up the remainder of the schedule. We'll see what other races we got coming up this afternoon here in the Link to the Past Randomizer tournament, and also on the Speed Gaming channels. But while I'm waiting for that to load, special thanks to Deuce May for doing the tracking for us, clicking the buttons, doing all the good work. But yeah, Dad Lost to Samurai Man, that started about an hour ago. That's going on right now on Speed Gaming 3, Marjovic, and CDV. They're on commentary for that. Next up here on Speed Gaming, we have... I believe we've got some stuff coming up. I will double check, see what we've got going on. I believe later on today we have the bronze match as well as the championship of Diddy Kong Racing. That gets underway at 4 o'clock, and the championship to follow after that. Also coming up on Speed Gaming channels later on today, you've heard about it. You maybe have seen some other runners do it. We're going to showcase it on Speed Gaming 2. The Link to the Past Super Metroid combination randomizer thing. It's a lot of fun. A lot of great things been said about it. That's coming up 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Speed Gaming 2. Plus Dark Souls coming up, as well as other various things we got coming up on the Speed Gaming channel. Sonic Advance 2 Battle, the Zelda 1 randomizer weekly race at 10 p.m. tonight. So do the schedule and see what's going on. Special thanks to the Fizo and the crew that's helped us over at Speed Gaming, getting us on the air. Big thanks to prieR and Kova for having a great attitude and giving us a great seat to talk about. Mentos Man, great job in the commentary. And once again, to Deuce May for clicking the buttons. I'm Adirondack Rick. Mentos Man, how about you give us the goodbyes? Have a great Sunday.
Yep, have a great day, everyone. Enjoy all the events on Speed Gaming Randomizer-wise, and enjoy the pleasant Sunday afternoon.